All right, hello and welcome to the Art to Part podcast, where we dive into the world of manufacturing, engineering, and innovation. I'm your host, Ann Didier, and today I'm sitting down with a very special guest. In this episode, I sat down with Cody Pendzich, who is our senior applications engineer, who has a lot of experience in virtual factory floor, specifically with DELMIA. So we got into that in the episode today, and it's a very awesome episode, so I'm excited to dive into it. Let's go. All right, so with me here today is Cody Pendzich, our senior applications engineer here at GSC. Welcome, Cody.
Yeah, thanks.
Can you just go into a little bit of what you do here at GSC?
So I'm one of the applications engineers, which means I do kind of everything technical from a standpoint of training, showing people different tools that they might be looking at. And I think really the fun thing is I get to learn all the new tools and share that info. So
yeah, you're like the first one to see it all and spread the wealth. So,
yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And hey, I heard you were at 3DEXPERIENCE World this year. How was that? What were the takeaways? It looked awesome.
It's, as always, was awesome. It's such a great event every year, and this year was no different. They announced some really, really cool stuff, and I got to do a couple presentations this year, so that was also a really good time. As busy as it can be, it was very fun to get in front of people and show some virtual factory stuff.
Yeah. Did you have the ice cream that was on the floor?
I did not have the ice cream that was on the floor.
Okay, I
it
saw
looked
videos
very
of that.
cool, though.
It looked insane.
Yeah,
really good.
It looked very, very cool.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yep. Love it. So yeah, let's get into it. Like, what were the standouts of everything 3DEXPERIENCE World, and what were you presenting on?
Yeah, so I guess just to kind of start with like the standouts, I think biggest thing for a lot of people was definitely the kind of revival of focus on SolidWorks. So everybody got red backpacks, the classic SolidWorks red.
Yeah, they're super cool.
Yeah,
they're like little jet packs.
Yeah,
very fitting for the theme.
Yeah. And it was just, SolidWorks was at the core of everything that was talked about in the general sessions. And it's clear through discussions that I had with other people at SolidWorks and just across the whole range of the 4,000 or 5,000 people that were there, that SolidWorks is the focus, more so than it ever has been and is going to continue to be the focus, which is great. That's our background. That's like where GSC started, was with SolidWorks, and it's a tool that's dear to all of us, as I'm sure Jeff would agree as well. So that was exciting. And then of course, with every 3DEXPERIENCE World, they announce a lot of really cool features and things that we have to look forward to. Something that they announced this year was Aura, which is a generative AI baked into SolidWorks. So with that, Pascal Deloz, the CEO of Dassault Systems, had kind of mentioned that with this generation of the SolidWorks tools, AI will be at the center of everything. We can look forward to companions across a variety of different tools that are going to be able to not replace the things we do, but empower us to do them better.
Yeah.
So anybody that's been using any kind of generative AI, I mean, you go to Google and you type in a search, right away you get that generative response.
Yeah.
Yep, with Gemini. Or ChatGPT, all of these different tools that are out there. The thing that is, I think, most powerful about them isn't that it can do all these things for you. Yes, generative AI can write code. It can do a lot of this other stuff. That's really, really cool. But what it does that I think is really revolutionary is it makes it very easy to learn.
Okay, yeah.
I knew very little Python. Once ChatGPT came out, I started using it to kind of learn some of the basics of writing Python code, and now I can fumble my way through basic automations for work and things like that. And it makes it so accessible. And the thing is, Aura is going to feed into all of the SOLIDWORKS knowledge that the education team at SOLIDWORKS has put together, the stuff that's in our books, the stuff that's in the help documentation, the stuff that's in the user community and all of those different areas. All that knowledge is going to be accessible to Aura, so that as a newer user, if I jump into SOLIDWORKS, I can ask it whatever question I want, and it's going to be able to, in layman's terms, tell me how to use that particular feature. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I see as a huge advantage for newer users. Younger users who are getting into SOLIDWORKS don't have a lot of experience with it. It's going to make it so much more accessible to learn the tool.
Yeah, it's not just like a cop-out. It's more, like you said, a tool that people are actually learning from, which is really special. Yeah, and kind of essential. Like AI has become this essential tool in our world today.
It's really, I mean, as far as we've watched a lot of revolutionary pieces of technology come out over many, many, many years, but I don't think anything tops AI in terms of what AI is going to unlock. And to that point, they showed some cool little things that we probably won't see as soon as Aura hits out or comes out, but we have to look forward to in the future, which is Aura being able to interact directly with SOLIDWORKS and directly with the other tools that we access to make changes for us and help us maybe double check our work and ensure that it's exactly what we need. So really, really cool stuff. I was really excited about it. I'm a huge AI guy. I love it. I use it regularly for my work. And I think it's a really good tool.
For sure. Yeah, I also use AI definitely for different reasons than you do, but it's really cool to see that it's this, everyone uses it and everyone should be using it, especially the way that you were talking about. Like learn from it. Don't just, rely on it to do the task, learn from it. So it's really special what Aura is doing with SOLIDWORKS.
Yeah,
awesome to hear. So let's get a little bit more into your presentations at Worlds. What were those focused on?
Yeah, so I was talking about Virtual Factory, which is a term that kind of has a lot of ambiguity right now. Not a lot of people know what Virtual Factory is or what it means, but we got to kind of talk about some cutting edge stuff there. It's really cool technology that allows us to take the CAD data that we already have of our plant layout or our factory or whatever else, and then apply logic to it and understand if this task takes X amount of time, what does that mean for the next task in line? So I was talking about that with a whole bunch of users and also some of the robot programming capabilities.
Yeah, awesome. And can you speak a little bit more on that? What, maybe not too, we don't need to get too technical, but what does using Virtual Factory Floor look like?
Yeah, so...
and I guess how can it be a benefit to manufacturers today?
Yeah, so first of all, something that we're going to see is SOLIDWORKS has a huge focus on manufacturing right now. We've had CAM tools in the past, but we've never really extended to that level of the actual factory floor and robots and process and optimization of the factory. And that's kind of the goal here, is really to take all the CAD data that we already have and allow us to use it for an entirely new part of our business, which is that factory flow. It's, for many of us, the most important part of the business is how fast can we get our products out the door and how fast can we get them into the hands of customers. And so what Virtual Factory allows me to do is take that CAD data of machines, of storage racks, of whatever else, and assign logic to it. This machine takes 32 seconds to process this task or to run this part. And then it goes to another table where an operator spends 12.6 seconds doing some kind of task. And that's all based on numbers that someone is out on the shop floor gathering with either a stopwatch or through their ERP system or whatever the case is. And then we can simulate that. We can understand exactly what kind of impact things like adding a new machine have or moving a machine from one place to another. Now workers have to walk a different path. What does that do? And ultimately we can start making, I think the biggest thing is we can make decisions that actually matter.
Yeah, and I'm sure that makes the whole process run faster and more smooth, which is essential in manufacturing. So that's a very valuable tool that DELMIA is, or SolidWorks is providing.
Yeah, it is.
So, Cody, with talking about virtual factory floor and how beneficial it is to manufacturers, can you give us a real world example with a customer, maybe a customer example of where they had success and how that process went?
Yeah, so we had a client that they were constantly changing things on their manufacturing floor. They were very efficiency focused, and they had a couple active projects. So they were bringing in some new robotics. They were bringing in essentially a complete duplicate of a cell they already had. And they wanted to make sure that once they took the time and once they paid for that equipment, that it all worked. And that more specifically, they came to us and they said, we want to make sure that when we bring in this robot, that we are able to keep it running 100% of the time. No downtime. We don't ever want that robot sitting idle because that robot is very expensive, right? So ultimately, they came into our office and we had a group of probably about 8 of us sitting down and looking at each of those cells, and we ran simulation after simulation after simulation, changing different parameters, changing different things, and we'd see the worker walking in our simulation, and we'd see the worker walking and all of a sudden stop. And they'd be wondering, well, why is the worker idle? And it's, well, the worker doesn't have anything to do right now. So we can start to take a look at different things and we can start to make those changes. And ultimately, the first time we ran that simulation, we weren't even close to being able to run the robot 100% of the time. We were at about 50% because the worker was spending so much time on other tasks, they couldn't keep the robot loaded. And so as we ran the simulation, somebody in the room asked, well, what if the worker, some of the stuff that they were doing was assembling these different parts. What if we take that and have somebody else do that? Somebody who's a little less overloaded at their station.
Yeah.
We have them spend the day assembling parts while they're in between other tasks. And then the next day that cart just gets rolled over, and now our worker at this cell, all they have to do is take the assembled sets and just carry them over. And as we did that, we were able to keep that robot running much, much, much closer to 100%. And we made a couple other changes through iterations, and we got it to a point where the robot was running 100% and our worker was at about 70% utilization. So they had a little bit of extra capacity. They weren't going to fall behind if things got a little slow or they were maybe not at their best for a short duration, that they would always be able to keep up. And they implemented those changes to that factory cell.
Nice. That's really cool. And I think with virtual factory floor, you see some of these issues that you would only recognize while using factory floor. Like if you weren't using it and you just placed the robot, you might have come across issues that you could have solved before placing that robot, correct?
Exactly right. That's the whole idea. It's so much easier to move pixels on a screen than it is to move metal out on the floor. So the idea is, and this is actually a really good point. Someone at one point asked me, my company only makes changes to the shop floor once every couple of years. And what we ended up talking about is ultimately there was a fear of making changes. And that's what was leading to that lack of frequency in improving their factory floor. Is they didn't want to make a change and invest all this money into bringing in a new machine or moving a machine around just to find out that it had no impact or a negative impact.
It's a lot to take on.
Yeah. So they were able to test that out, and what we're seeing is companies. This tool almost creates a culture of innovation in the manufacturing floor, in the sense that I don't have to worry about whether or not the idea I submit is going to work out. I can submit an idea. I can submit as many ideas as I want. I can test them. And I know now that the idea that I came up with is going to work. So there's less hesitancy in coming up with ideas or sharing ideas. You don't want to put your neck out on the line for something that's a gamble. But if you can test it before you actually roll it out, you have a lot more freedom, a lot more flexibility to make changes.
Sure. So. Yeah. Cuts cost, save time.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Sounds like an awesome tool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sitting down with me today, Cody. I really appreciate it. I think we got some awesome insights from you. So super happy about that.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And I look forward to our next chat. Thanks, everyone.